Welcome, everyone. Joe Tarnowski with ECRM and RangeMe. And I have with me today Kenny Finley, the CEO of GearHaul, who's a RangeMe Premium member and has had a ton of success with several retailer sourcing campaigns. And today we're going to talk a little bit about his company and products, and we're going to explore the secrets behind the success that he's had. So, Kenny, thank you so much for joining us. And to get started, give us a little overview of the company, its products, your origin story. How did all this come about?
Perfect. Well, I guess the easiest way to explain it, first and foremost, I'm the idiot who ran over my chainsaw.
Hey,
Well,
hey, that's how it happens.
it's the necessity is a mother of invention, right? So, how we kind of came about was that we were putting my wife back through school. She had originally been a manager for a company called Build a Bear. I'm sure a lot of people know it. She was over like 9 states and the head of marketing and recruitment and whatnot. And she had went through a divorce, and I had went through divorce, and we had reconnected. We were high school sweethearts, from way back when. And you know how the stories go. That you find each other after so many years and whatnot. Anyway, we got together, and she moved back to our little community of Chinook, Kansas. We're a small little town of about 9,000 down in southeast Kansas. And obviously the the opportunities for employment are a little bit different down here than in a big city and whatnot. So she had been working just as a just had a job. And she just desperately missed working with kids. So she approached me one day. She's like, I would like to go back to become a teacher. I was like, sweet, that's awesome money in that. But if it's what your wife has dreamed about for her life, you support them. You get behind them and you do it. So obviously we lost her income while she was going back to school, and she had saved and saved and saved to purchase me this new chainsaw. So she had saved and saved and saved to purchase this new chainsaw for me. While she was going through school, I was working extra jobs. I had been a senior resident claims adjuster for an insurance company out of Kansas for 20 years. And obviously during the wintertime, it's a little bit slower during those industries. Like we're in the middle of if you're in the middle of storm season,
Mhm.
you're busy, busy, busy.
Yeah.
But during wintertime, so to supplement long story short, supplement our income, I was going out and cutting hedge posts and firewood, to help make ends meet. And she had saved and saved and saved and bought me this like $750 chainsaw. I mean, with no income. So it was the most heartfelt gift I think I've ever got. And I was out cutting wood 2 weeks later, and I couldn't believe it. I had it in the bucket of my tractor and was driving along and hit a pothole, and it bounced out and ran over it, ruined it. And you want to talk about
No.
not wanting to
Oh,
come
no.
home. I was like, oh, I suppose I could move to Antarctica, maybe. So obviously, I was like, I, obviously, it just broke her heart, and it broke my heart that she did that. And I was like, I'm never going to let this happen again. This is a stupid preventable problem that can be solved. And surely I'm not the only idiot out here who's done this. So I started tinkering around, and we built the first prototypes and whatnot. It's actually kind of a funny story that the first ones were actually designed by a high school class. I had drawn up the CAD files and
Okay.
whatnot. It was right when the 3D printers came online.
Hmm.
And we the very first saw hall actually came from a high school student.
Huh.
As we, so we've really committed to trying to work with the schools and
Hmm.
show them that there's what they're doing and what they're learning right now
Hmm.
actually does have real world implications.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell us what this saw hall is. Like, what is the purpose of the product, and that came from this accident?
Yeah. So basically, there was no good way to carry any kind of tools or equipment on any kind of tractors, is where we
Hmm.
started out with. So if you kind of look behind me here,
Hmm.
what we have came up with is a way to safely and securely transport a chainsaw onto any mobile machinery.
Hmm.
And once we kind of once we secured that actual product and got the product right and all that stuff, we have since expanded into other types of equipment carrying capabilities, such as weed eaters, long handle tools, gas, oil, chains, literally anything that you're going to use in the outdoor industry. We have a way, we have came up with a way to securely and safely transport it. It keeps it from getting stolen. It keeps it getting
Hmm.
run over. It keeps it getting, just accidents happen, and it happens in a
Yeah.
second. And there's a lot of money riding on these pieces of equipment,
Yeah.
and it's one of them products that you didn't really know you needed until you
Hmm.
see it, and then
Yeah.
once you see it and use it, our number one comment is I will never work without these tools ever
Yeah.
again.
And it's one of those things that it makes sense. It makes sense once you see it because I'm sure you're not the only one who's had either, something bumped out of their
Yeah.
pickup truck or stolen from the pickup truck.
Uh-huh.
And, there's a lot of people, tell us a little bit about the market, the people. Who's the type of person that uses your equipment?
The demographic is it's me. It's everybody like me. It's the blue collar.
Hmm.
Um, you know, we we have such an opportunity in front of us because the market is literally so big for this.
Hmm.
We started out in the ag side, and once we kind of built a brand reputation and whatnot in that industry,
Hmm.
we branched out into the fire industry, the utility industry, the
Okay.
OEM, you name it. We can help dang near any industry that utilizes any equipment in the outdoors.
Okay.
So it's a
If they're
very
building stuff or fixing stuff outside somewhere.
yes. It's an extremely niche demographic,
Hmm.
but the niche is huge. If that kind of
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of people doing that, and I mean, outside of like me, I don't have a car. I've
Yeah.
had built my driver's license since I'm 17. I've yet to own my own car because I live in the city. I got all the, trains and stuff, and then Uber, but
Uh-huh.
and I don't fix stuff. But you got my brother lives out on Long Island. He's got a pickup truck. He's always out fishing and doing stuff like that. And he's got a lot of equipment that he carries with him.
Yeah.
So um, so take me through the lineup of products, 'cause and t distinguish between Sawhall and GearHaul is the whole company,
Okay.
and then you have Sawhall and some other products.
Yes. So basically, we originally started out as Sawhall.
Hmm.
Um, we soon learned, as everybody does in business,
Hmm.
that you get some things right, you get some things wrong.
Hmm.
We branded it as Sawhole extremely well, but it also pigeonholed us into just
Hmm.
chainsaw carriers.
Yeah.
So what we have done is we rebranded, and we are just finishing that up of going from Sawhall to GearHaul, and we're sticking with the Hall
Hmm.
name. That has been a really recognizable feature that we've been able to pretty much make a household
Yeah, the
name.
transition makes sense because you're
Yeah.
still using that haul, and it opens you up to a much broader
Correct.
array of stuff.
So now what we have done is we spent the last year developing our new product line, and we're just now in the pouring gas on it stage of it.
Hmm.
So after we did the saw haul, we actually, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we actually listened to the customers,
Hmm.
and and if we hear something repeatedly,
Hmm.
it's they're like, well, I need a way to carry my bar and my bar oil and my
Hmm.
chainsaw fuel. Um, like, okay, well, let's see, what can we do with that? We hear, well, that'd be nice, but I'd like to carry my felling wedges. You actually just sit back and you hear something so
Yeah.
many times over and over again. It's like, okay, I think we need to explore this, and then we'll go, to the R&D
Yeah.
phase. And so since then, what we have came up with is we have came up with the bucket haul, which the bucket is one of the handiest things you can ever have on the farm with you on the job site. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs a bucket.
Hmm.
But it's also one of the hardest things to carry without spilling.
Hmm.
So we have developed the bucket haul. We have the tool haul. The tool haul can carry the gas, the oil, the chains, long handle tools, shovels, rakes, weed eaters, pole saws, literally anything. Um, and then we also have the call haul out, and it's the first cell phone carrier specifically designed for rugged outdoor
Hmm.
industrial use. I mean, it, it's not meant to be a pretty flowery type of
Yeah.
deal. It's for it's supposed to get muddy. It's
Hmm.
supposed to get it's the only cell phone carrier out there on the market that doubles as a recreational recording device, which you can a lot of people say a GoPro.
Hmm.
It allows you to not only see your calls coming in and out and all your notifications and all that type of stuff, but it allows you to employers to have an opportunity to see the progress of what the
Hmm.
employees are making.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the fire industry, we're using it as a training exercise because some things like that. Body cams are awesome, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but you see this frame right here.
Yeah.
um, with our call hall, it allows you to see the whole event as it
Okay.
transpires, and they use it
Yeah.
for training. They're like, "Hey, George, um, do you think you should have entered on on seawall?
Hmm.
Do you think we should have maybe reevaluated whether we should approach that window?" I mean,
Hmm.
it gives them a different aspect of it, and so that's been really really neat
Yeah.
watching the different ways that people utilize our different tools and equipment.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how it evolved, based on
Yeah.
your customer feedback. And that's leads me to something that actually wasn't on my list, but we talked about in the past that I'd love to
Uh-huh.
dig into is, when your the way you've leveraged social media to both get feedback and then to engage your audience, well, I think was amazing because a lot of people, in this world of influencers and stuff, they think of, they think they're like ready made, and it's like, no, you painstakingly did it over time. Could you get into go over that and talk about how you built your audience one by one, and then really tapped into the feedback?
Absolutely. I mean, that has been such a crucial part of our success. It's not easy. It's countless thousands of hours. But what we did was when the Facebook group started kind of coming around in 2018,
Hmm.
2019, 2017, that area. What we did was we went in and befriended a lot of the Facebook admins and moderators and whatnot, and built relationships. That's the key.
Yeah.
Build a relationship with the people who control the content, and then
And what types of groups were these?
Yeah. So basically, what we did is we went into like chainsaw groups. We went
Hmm.
into tractor brand groups. We went into forestry groups. We went into utility groups,
Hmm.
and and kind of just introduced ourselves to begin with. Um, Now, can you go in there and just say, "Hey, I'm such and such, and I want to do this"? Absolutely not. It's a painstaking, not for the faint of heart. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword type of deal. Where leveraging that kind of when we first started out, nobody had heard of any kind of product like this.
Hmm.
So one of our problems, actually, one of our partners is BMW Trailer Hitches
Hmm.
out of Humboldt, Kansas. They're worldwide known as probably the best trailer hitch manufacturing company in the world. Um, Quality, quality, quality. So what they were thinking about partnering with us at the very beginning, but what they came back and said was, "We love the product, we love the idea, but do you have any idea how much effort and work it's going to take to change the way the industry thinks?"
Hmm.
Um, that being said, the reason why that is our demographic is much like the automotive industry. Like if you're a Ford guy, you're a Ford guy.
Hmm.
If you're a Chevy lady, you're a Chevy lady. Yeah, I mean it's um, so everybody has their own learning styles, and someone that they mentored. Chainsaw, the chainsaw world is not something where you just come in and pick up a chainsaw and
Hmm.
go to town. You're going to get killed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You really need to have somebody mentor you and whatnot. Well, we had our dilemma was how do we change the thought process and the market of trying to teach them that this is the new way.
Hmm.
It was when we started out, it was, well, my dad didn't do it that way, or my uncle Joe didn't teach me how to cut wood
Hmm.
this way, so I'm not going to do it that way. And then, so what we did is we sent product to these, not necessarily the influencers at first. It was just to the gatekeepers of the information
Okay.
on Facebook groups.
Hmm.
You need to realize who the right people are to talk to, I think,
Yeah.
a lot of times. And then once we established relationships throughout the whole industry, we didn't have to go back and say, well, no, it's not a stupid idea because look at these value added options. Look at the value that we're adding to this. Well, we didn't have to do that anymore because we had literally thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people on the social media platforms going, they did it for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have to fight the battle anymore.
Yeah. They were talking you up. They
They were,
were. Yeah.
yes, you go in and you get your early adapters.
Hmm.
That's one of the key things. You find your early adapters and don't ask them to promote it or anything
Hmm.
like that. Just say use it.
Yeah.
Use it for a while. Let me know what your thoughts are. Come back to me. Yeah, positive and
Hmm.
negative.
Yeah.
Everybody just expects to hear the positive, and that's not what you need to hear
Yeah. The
a lot
negative is
of
the
times.
feedback that
Yes,
helps
I mean,
you adjust.
yeah. For instance, like we originally had the scabbard without the tool holder attached to it.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things people were like, I love it. It's just I just have my chainsaw with me, and I don't have any way to sharpen it while I'm out in the field, and I don't have any way to tighten a chain.
Hmm.
It's the small little things like that.
Hmm.
And we changed the design of the scabbard, and next thing by listening to the people who we trust,
Hmm.
it's they share the information with us, and in return, we keep them supplied with
Yeah.
product. And it's all about relationships.
Yeah, and then the side benefit to that, like you mentioned, is that they will start talking it up for you. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
look at what he did just for me. I requested this,
exactly.
addition to put my tools in, and then they, and then or if there's conversations happening on in those groups about a certain thing, one of your customers now would can jump in and say, "Hey, look, I recommend you use the saw hall,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
for these reasons, and I'm a user myself, so you could trust me." That's the best kind of marketing you could get. Is that where even
Absolutely.
it's that's word of mouth, it's digital, but it's still word of mouth, and it's
Right.
your customers talking about you, not you talking about you.
Yes. I
But
mean,
it took a long time to build that.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, that's 5 years in the making. Well, probably more than that. 5 to 6 years in the making of, you know, how many thousands of sleepless nights of,
Yeah.
just
And answering people's comments, like
yeah.
responding to comments one to one. And people don't realize it's how much work that is, but how valuable it could be to spend an hour on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and just have conversations with everybody that's in the industry, but offering value, right? Not
Yeah.
promoting and saying, "Hey, buy our stuff." You're
Yes.
giving them tips and tricks.
Give more than you take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's
And
great, and it seems to have worked out really well because now you have that following of engaged people, and they're going to do the work of marketing for you.
exactly. I mean, I mean, just a quick little reference on how well that worked is like every time that we go out on the road, we're getting recognized by, I mean, like I was telling you a while back, like we're in Walmart and, a guy walks up and he's like, that's a Hall Kitty. Like, what are you doing? I mean, you can't buy that type of
Yeah,
marketing. Um, it's just you, if that was the if that was the CEO of a different any other company, that wouldn't happen.
yeah, yeah.
We were in Alabama one time, and it was during COVID, and there were two people going through the drive-through at one time, and we were, obviously the fast food restaurant was locked down,
Hmm.
and it was like two people in a row in the drive-through were hollering at us like, "Hey, Kenny! Hey, it's Kenny! It's all Kenny!" It's things like that. I mean, that's the aha moment when you know you have when you know you have done a good job of establishing relationships and
Hmm.
being honest and being truthful and having
Hmm.
integrity, and people trust you.
Yep.
They're not only buying our product, they're buying our promise.
Yeah. And I think that's and we're going to get into the RangeMe stuff now. I think that is uh a reason for your success as well is because you're going to these meetings with buyers with that reputation, with people knowing about you, and everything that you've built up before then kind of helps you when you're meeting with somebody. So how long have you been on RangeMe, and how did you find out about them, and how do you build your profile?
Okay, so interesting story on that. So about in 2020, I think is when we joined. Um, we had an employee here that was who had a real long history in the retail business, and he suggested us, go ahead and sign up for the Range Me and the
Hmm.
premium. He's like, that's the because I you know. Er, you have to admit there's a point in time when you don't know what you don't know. Like I
Exactly.
didn't know
Yeah.
this service even existed
Yeah. Yeah.
because we just hadn't been down that path before.
Hmm.
He had signed us up, and um, once we got to looking at it, it was like, holy smokes, this is like such an unbelievable opportunity. I I have no idea how we would go about getting into any of these stores without range beam. It has been such a blessing And that is one of them. That's one of them deals. It's so fun to watch the actual behind the scenes of what's going on
Mm-hmm.
with the RangeMe platform. So like we've had a lot of success with um, the the outreach programs where like open calls and and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
we call them either sourcing campaigns or
Sourcing campaigns,
summits, and yeah,
yes,
where if a retailer is looking for products in a specific category, they'll send an alert. You'll be alerted that you have the sourcing campaign going on for your category, and you can apply.
yeah.
And you've been very successful in four of them, and that's what I wanted to get into. Talk about those. Which ones did you apply for, and what were the results? And then we'll dig into like some of the reasons why you think you were very successful in those.
Yeah. So yes, we've so to date we have pitched to the first one that we did was Rule King. The second one we did was Walmart. The third one we did was Lowe's Into the Blue, and then the fourth one was the Tractor Supply Life Out Here. Um, what we have, I think, a lot of the opportunities that we've had, a lot of it is derived from twofold. The first fold would be a lot of them probably already know about us.
Hmm.
We've been told that we've been known about. Um, so what we the RangeMe platform, you have to think of it as an ever living document.
Hmm.
You can't just set it and forget it. You have to actually update, or you don't have to, but I would highly recommend, updating your listings periodically and doing that. You need to, you, you really need to check it quite frequently, as there's different buyers on there, and you can almost see it happening in the background. You're like, oh, like we, for instance, like on the Tractor Supply one last time, and it's the same for all of them. And you submit your submission, and then they'll a lot of times get on it, and then you can just kind of watch them as the time gets closer to the actual buying event or the
Hmm.
pitch event. You can it's to be honest, it's almost like fishing. You like, oh,
Hmm.
I got a bite. Huh? I got a bite,
So you see
and then
them in
it's
the
like,
insights, right? It's
yeah.
the on the insights you'll see who's looking at it and for how long and
You
what they're
can,
looking at.
yes, you can see what they're looking at. You can see how long they're looking at. If if they're only looking at two products and not any of the others, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on these two.
Hmm.
You know, you want to be able to you want to be able to get a meeting. I mean, it boils down to it. You can do a lot once you get the meeting, but getting the meeting is crucial. Um, and the funny part is that we have done, like, each one of these has been a different type of buying event.
Hmm.
Rule Kings, their first one was um, in store. It was their very first event that they ever had. It was they actually have a department store as part of their home base. So they took the inside of the department store and closed it down, and we did it online, or it did a pitch event right there. With the Walmart one, you're in a huge auditorium with you're in there with 1,000 people, but you can only imagine how many people actually applied,
Hmm.
and yeah, just to
Oh, we
be
don't have to imagine. We know how many
you know
people
how
apply,
many.
and it's a lot.
Yes, I mean, and just to be included in something like that,
Hmm.
like on our first try, it's
So that's where the profile comes into play. It's like when you first do the submission, all they have to go on to make their decision and whittle it down is your profile. They're looking at
Right.
your profile. So the content on the profile is very important. And
It's a
then,
must.
yeah,
Yes.
and then they make the decisions to meet with you. And like you said, that's the goal. And then in those meetings, you did very well too. So that's what I want to get into too is
Yeah.
what was
So
that experience like?
in the meetings, yeah, obviously it's overwhelming. Like our second one was to the biggest company in the world. You're like, what am I doing here? But you just have to sit back and go, I am here. They invited us for a reason. Let's let's go in and
Mhm,
if you if you're honest, if you work your tail off and your product is great, what the only thing that you're going to do is, I mean, the buyers, I would say probably 95% of the time, probably have an idea of what they're going to do before you walk into a room. You have the opportunity to knock them off their feet or to ruin anything that
mhm,
they did. So, you know, I would say one of the key things for us is just to go in there and be us. I mean,
mhm,
we are who we are. Good, bad, or ugly. You know, if you try to fluff stuff up and all, they see right through that.
mhm,
I mean, that's their job. Go in there, you know, be honest, have integrity. Um, don't don't lie and don't overpromise and underdeliver. I mean,
mhm.
it's the the theory behind it is pretty sound. It's just a lot of people don't kind of
Mhm.
follow that theory.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. We say that a lot when we talk to brands that like at our ECRM sessions, right? A brand will have
Mhm.
25 to 50 meetings with buyers, and I always say, four things. I always say this a lot on when I'm speaking to brands. It's, you know, one, do your research, right? And which you obviously did. You researched the retailers, you researched which products they're looking at on your RangeMe profile, so it gives you kind of an idea of how to approach them. Second thing is present in terms of the buyer's needs, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has the best product in the world, but they want to know what you're going to do for them, right? Number three, what you just
Mhm.
said, be transparent and honest about what your capabilities are, what your capabilities are not. And then number four, talk about how you're going to support sales for the retailer, because
Right.
ultimately that's all they care about. They want to know that you're going to make their category contribute to the category's profitability. And as long as you do those, and then be yourself, like you said, when you come in, I'm sure you're Soho Kenny. You're the Soho Kenny that everybody recognizes and stuff, and that's it. Just be yourself. And I really like what you said about don't add the fluff. You don't have to fluff it up,
Yeah.
and especially never lie. But
Yeah.
now you talked about there was one meeting in particular where you went from one meeting right into another
Yeah.
meeting.
It was
Talk about that
That was
experience.
crazy. So that was the Lowe's one. We were sitting there. So they pitched their Into the Blue contest.
Mhm,
It's actually a lot like American Idol, kind of.
mhm,
Them and Walmart kind of do the same type of deal, like where you actually get a blue ticket or a golden ticket. So we went and pitched to our category buyers to
mhm,
begin with, and you know what what we have found, and I don't know if this is right or wrong or indifferent, but what we did is we spent the money and the time and the effort to make a quick presentation video. um you know One of them things that can tell our about us story, and instead of going through and making a real long pitch of things that aren't necessarily important to them or anything like that, we we said, would you mind us just showing you this quick video? And once they see the video, they're like, holy smokes. Like, number one, it saves them time.
Yeah.
You're not going through and repeating yourself or anything like that. Or um, it's quick, it's concise, it tells the story, all that. We showed the video to our first initial buyers, and you, it was so awesome because not only are they watching the video, but it allows you time to watch them and their reactions to it. When you hear audible gas from the buyers, you're like, yes, yeah. It's like our message has been conveyed exactly what we want. So we watched a video with that, and then we discussed some stuff. And one of the things that we are really focused on is um, the made in Kansas aspect. And he was like, yeah, well, it was really great. Um, and you're like, oh, here it comes, and he goes, the only thing I would change, and you're like, yeah. He goes, I would add made in Kansas to your box. He goes, other than that, absolutely loved it. He goes, oh, and guess what? Your next meeting with the vice president of the category is in 2.5 minutes in that door right over there. Good luck. You're like, oh, I don't even have time to get a drink and drive, wet my mouth, or it's like just a whirlwind of
Yeah.
excitement. And then we went in and pitched to him, and it was just so surreal, like
Mhm.
boom, 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 and then within 30 minutes, we were walking out with a humongous like the biggest PO we've ever had as a company, and just like that's how quick and
Yeah.
accessible. And I mean, would that have ever happened without RangeMe? No, I
Well,
guarantee.
and you know what? The thing is, you've prepared so much leading up to this moment. The social media, the ideas, the social media, the feedback, the iterations of products, you know, doing the video, putting together the video. I really like that idea because, like you said, buyers are time starved. You nailed a bunch of stuff in a concise way, visual way, and then by watching them, I love the fact that you're watching for their feedback when they're watching the video.
Yes,
Again, that's more information that you could use when you actually do talk to them. And
exactly.
yeah, so that's amazing. That was really great.
And then, like, going back to the preparation and the research,
Mhm.
go into the stores, pick out, like, it's so funny, like, with just for the Lowe's example, when I invented this, like the very first prototype, I was sitting there and I literally walked into Lowe's, and you know, um, it was one of the assistant managers, and he's like, "Well, you mind if I ask what you're doing?" Because here I am, I'm carrying in a prototype of a saw
Mhm.
into Lowe's, into the store, and he's like, "Yeah, so yeah, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, you really want to know?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "I'm picking out my spot." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "This product is going to be on that shelf one of these days. I guarantee it." And he just started chuckling. He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'm sure they hear that type of stuff all the time, but you have to have that vision
Mhm.
and that goal in your in. You have to have your end game. You're
Mhm.
like, what's gonna knock your socks off?
Mhm.
Go for
And,
it.
yeah,
Do
and they
it."
love it. They love a buyer when you come into a meeting with a buyer and you already have a solution and you say, "Look, this is going to sit, this is going to do well if you put it in this section of your store next to this and this." It shows they love it because it shows that you've been in there, you've done your research, and you're
Exactly.
doing the work for them. You're taking work off of their plate. They now don't have to figure that out. They can work with you to figure it out. So
Mhm.
you're helping them, and the only way you could do something like that is get in the stores. I mean, that's something I
Absolutely.
highly recommend. You walk the stores if you can. If you can't for some reason, let's say it's a retailer in California, you're based in New York, well, go online. There's one brand actually gave me a suggestion, or well, he brought something up that was pretty cool. He said he would do Google searches of these Google image searches of the retailers' aisles or sections. And he said it's amazing how many photos show up from like customers or whatever that
Mhm.
have photos of the aisle of their category so that they could see the actual shelves in the stores without going there. And I thought that was just a brilliant little hack, but because you want to see what it looks like next to your competitors too.
Well, and a lot of people just either overlook or don't even think about the fact that for you to get into a store, something else has to go.
Hmm.
Um, give them examples. Don't ever talk trash or anything like that on anybody else's
Yep.
product, or just say, hey, I see an opportunity here. Help them help you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
And that's the thing is, yeah, you like you said, you never want to talk trash about another product that they
no,
have. You know why? Because the buyer at one point thought that was a good idea. So if
exactly.
you talk bad about this another product, you're basically telling the buyer that they made a bad decision.
Yes.
And that's never so. But yeah, like you said, you position it, you're helping them, helped you. Ultimately, everybody wins. And
Yeah, you want to
yeah,
create a win-win situation. So many people get caught up in the I beat you, or
hmm
I won this. It's like that's not how you make great lasting relationships.
hmm
It has to be a win-win for everybody. You can sell anybody anything once,
hmm yeah.
but where does that get you down in the long run?
That's a great quote. You can sell anybody anything once.
Yeah.
The key is to get those repeat customers.
And I would say one of the things that we have really, well, like some of our manufacturing partners, they're like, they they call me tenacity because I don't ever give up.
That's good.
Yeah, like one, for example, we pitched to Rural King in 2021.
Mm,
We, you know, you never know what's going on the backside of the buyers.
mhm,
There's people move around
yep.
in these industries, but they usually don't leave.
Mhm,
Um, a lot, like in our in the OPE
mhm,
industry, people move around, they don't leave. Um, and with the buyers and such, it's I'm seeing as I'm learning, you know, they don't really leave either. They just move to different parts or different,
mhm,
Um, the reason I say that is like our buyer was promoted to a vice president
mhm,
role. You know, we we got the acceptance to pitch to Rural King. The buyer had been promoted to vice president. Well, the new buyer came in and he wasn't real comfortable with making new decisions and whatnot. And it was a learning curve, obviously for him and for us as well. And it was like, well, I guess we just didn't, we weren't successful on that one. But you know what I did? A year later, I reached out again, said, hey, you know, and then now there's a new buyer and he's extremely excited about it. And we sent him a new quarter pallet today. Is now
mhm,
they're wanting to go. We went from going from a possibility of just online sales
mhm,
with from that to in store in the high volume stores on the quarter pallet and possible OEM just by continuing the conversation and not giving up. You can't, you know, just because one buyer doesn't like it right at the time, it doesn't mean the rest of them don't. I mean, they have a lot of discretion, and they move around a lot. So, the moral of the story is don't give up.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that, the value of patience because of
Yes,
things like that.
it
They're
is
only
not a
making,
quick
yeah, no,
process.
they're always making their decisions once a year, maybe twice a year, one's like an update, one's a refresh, one's a reset, and then like you said, things happen that might throw you off another year. So from the
Mhm.
time that you first get a bite or you have a buyer interested on RangeMe, it could be a year, 2 years or more before something happens, and for no fault of your own.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Exactly. And no fault of theirs a lot of times.
mhm.
It's just sometimes it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, no, that's
So
great. That's great. So, um, before we wrap up, give me, and we've touched on some of these before, but maybe give three recommendations, like to brands that are on Range Me. How how could they get the most from the platform?
my biggest hints on range me would be um like they say patience. Don't give up. The Do your research. Research.
Hmm.
Provide, in any buyer's mind, whether you're buying a, a telephone or a tractor or a door right here or something, you usually have to see that 6 times before you
Hmm.
purchase it.
Hmm.
It's not different for them either. They have to see it 6 times to be, consistent, thorough, honest communication. Um, don't don't just show it to them and just stop. You know, they're just like any other consumer. It's just their consumer buying behavior is based on predicting other buying
Hmm.
consumer behavior. So it's really the same thing. They just have to You have to convince them and help you get in front of all these people. It it I think people make it a lot more complicated than what it has to be. Do your research, be honest, have integrity, don't overpromise, underdeliver. Just do it right, and
Yep.
good things will come. Good things will
That's
come.
awesome. So now you have your products in all four of those retailers: Rural King, Tractor Supply, Walmart, and Lowe's.
The Walmart is not in store
Okay.
right now. Yeah, but yes, we literally just shipped out 250 quarter pallets to Lowe's for our initial order to
That's great.
there, and then Rural King. We're in negotiations with
Mhm.
them on how many we're going to do right now, and
Gotcha.
we're in negotiations with Tractor Supply as
Oh,
well. So,
that's great. I'm so glad to hear it. So, last question. What's next for GearHaul?
oh boy, well, one of the first things coming up is we're actually going to be on a reality TV show called The Blocks. So we're going to be featured in that, and that's coming up. I think we start shooting on February 19th, and then we have a few other things that we have up our sleeves to combat some of the issues that we have been fighting in the e-commerce platform
Mhm.
world. We have an opportunity to probably testify on the Hill on some of the things that are unfair trade practices.
Mhm.
It's pretty silly that a little dumb idiot who ran over his chainsaw is going to be testifying in front of Congress. But yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody's got to step up and do it. And
that's right.
if you can't just sit back and wait for people to make your life easier. Sometimes you
Mhm.
just got to grab the bull by the horns and get after it.
That's
So,
right, and you certainly have been doing that. So,
well, thanks, Joe.
yeah, well,
Yeah, we are bringing on. We've got about three more distributors we're getting ready to
mhm,
take on, and um, things are things are going nuts.
that's good.
Getting nuts.
That's a good thing. Keeps you
Yeah,
busy.
yeah.
Well, Kenny, it's been really great chat with you, and congratulations on your success. It's well deserved,
Well, thanks,
and
Joe.
really appreciate all of the insights for our supplier community.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Just like I said, I just wanted to reach out and say thank you guys for working with people like us.
Of course.
It's We wouldn't be where we are without you guys. So thank you.
Much appreciated, and thank you as well.
Yeah.